ROAS, impressions, clicks, we all know these metrics by heart, but are we actually tracking the numbers that tell us where our business is headed? In today's episode, I asked 4 brand side retail media leaders, what's the metric that you're obsessed with that everyone else seems to ignore? You'll hear why one leader ditched vanity metrics for incrementality and household penetration, the real drivers of long-term brand growth. Another shares an often ignored email metric that reveals exactly what's resonating with customers. And there's a surprising case for branded search volume as your crystal ball for future performance. If you're tired of chasing the same old KPIs that everyone else is watching, this episode will give you some fresh perspective. Let's go. Now let's hear from Kelsey Knight, Chief Commercial Officer at the toy brand Slumberkins.
Yeah, 2 metrics that came to mind for me were in email marketing and influencer marketing. Those are 2 channels that we're really focused on right now. In email, there are so many important metrics to look at with open and click through and deliverability and all of that. But where we're really focusing is on revenue per recipient, which is often an overlooked metric. So it helps us gauge not only what revenue did a send drive, which obviously is the most important, but also how much juice are we getting for the squeeze when we put larger promotions or campaigns together, and helps us really gauge what's resonating with our audience. So revenue per recipient is one that we watch pretty closely in email. And then on the influencer side of things, there's a lot of metrics to look at, from engagement and relatability and buying sentiment and consumer sentiment in the comments and things like that. But we're really focused right now on post per influencer, because while seeding and gifting at a large scale is definitely one goal, the larger goal is to turn those gifted influencers into true brand ambassadors who resonate with the product and want to share it organically. And as they do that, they can tag us, and that will show us that they're engaged with not just the brand, not just the product, but the actual mission behind it and the value that it's bringing in their homes. So post per influencer is really signaling to us a high match between brand and influencer, and then allowing us to scale that relationship even further and make it even more one-to-one and do larger partnerships with them down the line as well. So really helping us understand if our larger gifting strategy is paying off.
Now let's hear from Jyoti Malik, Senior Director E-commerce at Belkin.
One retail media metric that I admit I did not used to think about as much before, but now I love thinking and talking about it, is branded search. And one can look at volume and share for that. And as you know, all metric relevancy is really context dependent. So when you are in a highly competitive, commoditized category and trying to claim market share by outpacing category and competition growth, then branded search, I believe, is a great leading indicator for how much sustainable presence you're building for future versus constantly having to be in a pay-to-play scenario. So this is one metric that I think is a really great metric for us to track at the moment.
When your time, budget, and team are already maxed out, keeping up with retailer platforms and media requirements can feel like a never-ending labyrinth. That's why even the best brands bring in an execution partner. Acosta Group makes retail media execution simpler. They stay ahead of every platform update, tech shift, and media spec, so your campaigns actually show up and perform without draining your team. Let Acosta Group handle the chaos behind the scenes so you can keep building the brand. Check out acosta.group and tell them Retail Media Breakfast Club sent you. That's ACOSTA.group. Now let's hear from Chris Lowry, the brand director at Our Home, which is the parent of CPG brands including Pop Secret, Good Health, and Pop Chips.
The one that I feel like I'm more focused on right now in particular is just new to brand. And it's because, a lot of the brands that I work with are still in that like high growth phase. And, they built a strong base and they're now scaling quickly. But new to brand is particularly important just as they kind of enter that next phase. It's like ROAS and top line revenue are super important, but I mean, as you know, it's like if you're just recycling the same buyers, you're not really growing. And so as I think about these brands that are scaling so quickly, New to brand just gives me a much clearer picture of whether spend is actually expanding the brand. And it honestly changes how you approach everything, right? It's like keywords, creative, budget allocation. So again, that's like one that I've just been more focused on lately for the types of brands I've been working on. And I think, just like going back and thinking to it, it's like, to me, that's the best indicator that we're actually building towards long-term growth versus just, top line sales and ROAS.
Now let's hear from Neha Malik, Head of Connected Commerce at Mizkan America, the parent company of CPG brands including Ragu, Bertolli, and Holland House.
A lot of times we have to just remind ourselves over time that it's not just about the impressions or clicks and ROAS. I mean, obviously incrementality is huge, but I know as a brand we're looking a lot about building the long-term brand saliency and about the brand as opposed to just a very short term. So we're investing in our brand versus just short term through impressions, etc. The other big one for us really is new to brand, or new to category for that matter, is how do we then get into newer generation and ensure that our product's available wherever the consumer is in their journey.
On the point of brand salience in the long term, how do you measure that?
Obviously the household penetration is a big one for us, and you over time you can evaluate whether we have different measurement tools that we look at to ensure that our brand is at a long-term win or a short-term win. There is a place for both, of course, but it's different measurements and how we evaluate the business.